All right, this video will go over the very basics of what the GED is and how it works. It's the kind of thing that if you're just starting out on the GED process, these are things that it would be good to know. It just sort of feels good to know how things work. This is how they work. First, let's talk about where you can take this test. You can't take it everywhere. There are a number of states in the United States that don't offer the GED. So you can stop watching this video if you are from any of these states. There are some countries also that don't offer it, but a lot of them do. So you can go to GED.com and look up to see if your area offers the test. The GED itself is actually 4 separate tests that you have to pass. There's a little asterisk there because there are a couple of states that annoyingly make you pass a 5th test on the Constitution or on civics or something. You'll have to go to GED.com to see if there's like bonus requirements for you. The 4 tests that everybody has to pass are science and social studies, language arts, and math. And those are listed from highest passing rate to lowest passing rate. The science is supposedly the easiest one. Math is supposedly the hardest one. It might be different for you, of course. These are the 4 tests, how they're broken down. They're all different lengths. The longest one is language arts, which is 2.5 hours. They give you a little break in the middle. That's also the only test you have to do any writing on. The scores that you can get range from 100 to 200. Nobody ever gets a 100. You have to show up at the testing center and then immediately fall asleep or something to get a 100. 200 is also pretty mythical. I've seen screenshots on the internet, but nobody in real life I know has ever gotten a 200 on any of these tests. The most important score is a 145. That is passing. If you've done that, then you're done with the test. You can move on to the next test. If you get a 165, that's considered college ready, which is great, but for practical reasons doesn't really mean a whole lot. It's just kind of like a badge you can put on your refrigerator or something. Sometimes it will let you get out of remedial classes in college if you can show them that you're college ready, or if you get this 175, there are allegedly some colleges out there that will give you credit for it. You won't have to take a class. It's kind of like an AP test, a good score on that. What happens if you fail? What happens if you don't get that 145? Well, take it again. You can take it an infinite amount of times. There are some restrictions on when you can take it. Once you've failed twice online or 3 times in person, they make you wait. But in general, you can keep at this until you do pass. I know students of mine who have tried 7 times to pass a test, and they're still trying. God bless them. How much does it cost to take the test? Well, that actually depends also. It depends on where you live. Different states have different prices. They subsidize it at different rates. It depends on which test you're taking. If you're taking a retake, sometimes a state will chip in to have you try again if you didn't pass it the first time. You also might be in a test prep program that pays for some of your tests. If you are in my program, we pay for everything, which is a pretty good deal. If you happen to live near Denver and are between the ages of 17 and 21, hit me up. I can get you in. You'll have to check GED.com to see the specifics of how much it will cost. But in general, it's between $0 and $40 for each test. The ready test, which is the practice test, always costs $6 unless you can find an online coupon code somewhere. Let's talk about the ready test for a second because it's so kind of important and integrated into the GED experience. It's the first thing you should do. You should always take a ready test. Unless you are so confident you're going to pass this GED test with no problem, it's a really good idea to spend the money and take this ready test. It's the same score range, 100 to 200, passing, college ready, et cetera, et cetera. It's the same format, so it'll look exactly the same as when you take the test. The kinds of questions are exactly the same because they're made by the GED people. Anything you get from Kaplan or Princeton Review or whatever, those are going to be close, but not exactly the same. These are exactly the same kind of questions. And you can take it an infinite number of times. They'll run out of new questions and you'll start seeing the same ones at some point. But as long as you keep paying the money, you can keep taking the test. It is a different cost, a different amount than the real test. And it's about twice as long. The real test is about twice as long as a ready test. And there's sometimes requirements to take the real GED test. If you wanted to test at home, for example, you would need to qualify with a 145 passing score on the ready test before you can take the real test. The ready test has no requirements. You can just take it. There's some technical requirements too. You need certain kinds of computers to test at home, whereas when you're taking a ready test, you can basically use anything. So when it's time to actually take it, the first thing you need to do is sign up for an account at GED.com. That's the only place the GED is offered. And then when it's time to take the test, you can decide whether you want to take it at a testing center or you want to take it at your house. They just started doing this during COVID, the online test here. If you test at a testing center, you just show up, show them your ID and go in. There's no sort of like, you don't have to score 145 on a ready test first. You just go up and do it. They also give you a dry erase board and some markers. You can sort of write down notes if you want, which sounds silly, but on the math test is actually very helpful to be able to do calculations. They don't let you do that at the online test at home. You do have to qualify with that 145 on the ready test. And there's a bunch of extra rules. You can't use a Chromebook. You can't write stuff down. You can't have anything on your desk or make noise. I made a whole video about this, about the differences between the two if you're at that stage in your process. Once you're done with your test, well, when you're done with your ready test, your scores will be ready in about 5 minutes. It's pretty instantaneous. The real test will take 1 to 2 hours. Occasionally, it'll take a few days, but that doesn't happen very often. You'll get the email saying your test scores are ready within an hour or two, usually, of finishing the test. It's worth talking about the expiration of your scores, like when they stop being good. If you finish all 4 or 5 tests, they never expire. It's like a high school diploma. Once you have it, it's yours. They can never take it away from you. But if you're in the process of working towards finishing and they revise the test, then all the things you passed go away and they don't count anymore. They revise the test every 10 to 12 years or so. The last time they did it was 2014. So you can do the math on that. They'll give you a heads up. They'll give you a warning that they're going to release the new version. They won't surprise anyone with this. But if you've taken 3 tests and you're still working on the 4th and then they release the new version, you're back to square one. In terms of getting your diploma when you finish, well, that depends on where you live also. Different states do it in different ways. My state, Colorado, you can get a digital version emailed you, a PDF for free when you finish. You can also pay $20 and they'll send it to you in the mail. But when you finish, you'll go onto your GED account and there'll be a link and you click on it and it will walk you through the steps you need to take to get your diploma. The best way to pass, well, I think you should like and subscribe all my videos. But realistically, the better answer is to go to GED.com and look under the study tab and they will give you some options. You can sign up for local classes. Sometimes those are free. You can pay for GED's own online test prep program that has helped some people. You can just go to your library or to Amazon and get a test prep book and work through it. Definitely do subscribe and like all my videos. But that's sort of step 2 or 3. This is just introducing you to how it's going to work. And if I didn't cover anything or you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments.